Welcome to Wadsworth History on Film, a program presented by the Wadsworth Area Historical Society and designed to record the oral history of Wadsworth for posterity. I'm Cesar Carino, your host, and our guest today is a well-known Wadsworth resident, Sterling Bowes. Sterling, you've been around Wadsworth about 70 some odd years. You moved a little bit recently, but when were you born in Wadsworth?
I was born at Sharon Center.
Well, that's Wadsworth at that time, yeah. What day?
April 14th, 27.
April 14th, 27.
Right.
My brother Henry,
Yeah.
whom you knew,
Yeah.
went to school with him, was born April 16th, 27.
Is that right?
So you're just you're 2 days older than he is. Yeah. Of course, Henry's dead now, as you well know.
Yeah.
And you knew him for, all the way through school and all of that. Your parents moved to Wadsworth when?
Oh, when I was about 7 years old.
7 years old. So all of your school was right
Yeah,
in Wadsworth.
right here.
Right. Now, where did you live in Sharon Center? Just on the other side of...
Young's Corners,
yeah.
where I was born.
Then you came to Wadsworth and lived where?
On High Street, 164 High Street.
Who's living there now?
That's Fixler's agency.
Yes, that's right. I wanted to point that out. 161 High Street was almost the first house. And when you were there, it was probably the second house, wasn't it? Because the gas station wasn't there yet, was it?
Yeah, the gas station was there. Shell gas station was there.
The Shell gas station was
Yeah.
there? Okay, then it was the first house.
Yeah,
North of the Lutheran Church.
right.
On the west side of the road. We have to give these things geographically, Sterling, because 50 to 100 years from now, none of us might be here. So you were the first house past the business block on High Street. Who lived there with you?
My mom and dad had lived on the south side. My grandparents lived on the north side.
Okay, and the grandparents were who?
Wally Young.
Wally Young.
Yeah.
And that has a significant ring to it, too. Tell us about the Young family that your mother belongs to.
Well, Granddad bought the big gas station, whatever it was, on Young's Corners.
Young's Corners, right. And why do they call it Young's Corners?
Because Granddad was the sheriff up there.
That was right.
And they named it after him.
Your grandfather is Sheriff one, probably in the teens, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Teens. And Young's Corners is named after your grandfather.
Yeah.
Young's Corners, in case this isn't, we don't have a Young's Corners at that time, the intersection of what is now Route 18 and 94.
Correct.
And the gas station that you're talking about was on the southwest corner, was it not? Or was it, no, the
Southeast corner.
southeast corner,
Yeah.
yes, the southeast corner. Southeast corner.
Right.
There's a medical building there now.
Yeah.
Yes. And do you remember your grandfather running that station, or was it finished?
Yeah, vaguely. My mother and dad I was born in that house on the southeast corner. And Mom and Dad lived upstairs, and Grandma and Grandfather lived downstairs. And I vaguely remember him running this
Running the station.
Yeah.
Then you came to Wadsworth.
Yeah.
In about 1934, somewhere around that area, wasn't it?
I guess.
And who was your father, and what did he do?
He ran the Shell gas station.
Where?
Right next to...
Next door.
Next door. And...
But I thought he built that.
No.
It was there when you moved there.
Yeah.
See, I thought that he built that, and it was built on part of your property, but it was there already.
Yeah, it was there. Yeah, Granddad bought the house next door, and Dad was running the station, and he was a mechanic. And...
Well, you learned a lot about it yourself, though.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. The joke is that our house, since my brother had Carino Ignition, which was a mechanical repair shop, they said, oh, you have all kinds of mechanics working on your car. I said, well, because your brother's a mechanic. And I would tell them in truth, because my brother's a mechanic, I've had to learn how to repair my own cars. Like shoemakers have to, the children go barefoot. He would say, well, I don't have time to repair your car, but I've always come to pick you up when you've broken down. So he felt vindicated there. Sterling, tell us a little bit about the early days of the Shell station, what the gas pumps were like, number one. Number two, what kind of work was done on the cars in the early 30s, and the price of gas as you remember it.
I remember about 19 cents.
And that's something?
The gas pumps were big square things with the pumps inside, and you turn the thing around to how many gallons you want. And you got your windows washed, you got your air in your tires checked.
And your oil?
And your oil and the water and the whole deal.
For 19 cents a gallon.
For 19 cents a gallon.
19 cents a gallon. And what kinds of grades did they have? They didn't have all the types of grades we have today, but they just had high tests and low tests, wasn't it?
I just think it was regular.
Just regular gas?
And then they brought in premium a little bit later.
A little bit later on. Car repair.
Valve jobs, mufflers. Dad got into a little body work, and then he got into a little machine shop work, and that's
Where you got your...
That's where I got into, and I still love it.
Still love it.
Still love
and we'll be talking about that in a few minutes. You became quite an expert in this area. Quite an expert. A known expert in the area of machine shop, because today we have everything that is done through automation.
Yeah.
But during your days, everything was done with your automation, with your hands and so forth. You went obviously to Lincoln School from there, did you not?
Yeah, Lincoln School.
Who were some of the people that you played with?
Ted Rader.
Ted Rader. Tell us what Ted Rader was like when he was a little kid, or was he ever a little kid? He was always...
he was born big.
6'5" or 6'6", wasn't he?
Yeah, big kid.
And the nicest guy in the world.
Yeah, he is.
I'd like to get him on the program, but he's very shy and he won't come on.
Is that right?
Yeah, but he would be a tremendous person, because his mother, you know,
oh yeah,
was a personal shopper for O'Neill's, and I bet her name has been mentioned 50 times in our programs.
Was that right?
And Ted's as well. Very well-known person, just a great person. Who else were some of the people?
Dick Rohr.
Dick Rohr.
Joe Neath.
Dick Rohr married who?
I don't know.
Whom, rather? Dick Rohr?
I don't know who he married.
I thought, I could be wrong. I better back down on that one for a second, because I thought he married, well, I won't say right now. And then who were some of the other people?
Joe Neath.
Joe Neath, now dead.
Is that right?
Yes, he's been dead for a long time.
I'll be darned. Walter Straighton, he's gone.
Yes, he's gone too.
Mary Jo Young,
Yes.
remember her?
Oh, surely do.
Phyllis Freeburn.
Phyllis Freeborn, yes.
Yeah.
Carlisle Freeborn's sister.
Yeah.
Phyllis had red hair.
Yeah.
Pretty red hair.
Yeah, nice girl.
Oh, mercy, yes, they were nice
And
people.
Dolores Way.
Yes, Dolores Way. That was Pete Way's daughter, was it not? Or granddaughter?
I lost track of Dolores.
Okay.
Oh, there's one more, and I can't think of her name.
Now, who are the neighbors?
Gertrude Schrader was one of our neighbors. The Kyles across the street.
Which Kyles would that be?
Bill Kyle.
Bill Kyle, okay.
Dr. Johnson.
Do you remember him?
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember talking to him?
Yeah.
Now, Dr. Johnson was to those of us who were his patients,
Yeah.
scared us to death.
Yeah, he did.
What was he like?
He knew what he was doing.
Oh, you bet.
I remember one time I stove my finger with a softball.
Now, tell us what stove mean, because that name doesn't go anywhere except in Wadsworth.
I went to catch a softball and I caught it on the end of my finger.
And it goes in it, actually.
And it swelled up, so on and so forth. And my mother took me over there, and he said, "Give me that finger." He just grabbed it. Within seconds, he froze it, stuck it, and the pain was gone.
No kidding.
Oh, yeah. But he had a deep-toned voice.
Oh, yes.
But as far as I was concerned, he's a pretty good doctor.
Oh, you know, he was our family physician.
Yeah.
He delivered me, actually.
Yeah.
Well, my father started the delivery because it was in January.
Yeah.
And, of course, we were born at home. And it was a snowstorm. But he got there about 2 o'clock in the morning, and I started becoming born, or whatever they call that, at about 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
And he got there. And I can also remember he performed surgery on me. I had a little bit of an abscess under my arm.
Yeah.
When I was 5 years old, he did it at our home. And the anesthesia was my mother holding one arm and my father holding the other arm. And he did something to deaden it, supposedly, but it still hurt. And then afterwards, he said, "Do you want good medicine or bad medicine?" I said, "I want good medicine." Oh, well. He said, "Well, you give me good medicine." Well, I think that was the extent of his humor.
Yeah.
What about Mrs. Johnson? She was a dear, dear lady, wasn't she?
I really didn't know too much about Mrs. Johnson. Quite, she was nice. I know he had a daughter or two, and they both become doctors.
Mm-hmm. They're a little bit older than
Oh,
you
yeah,
are.
yeah.
But did you ever play with them or talk with
No,
them? Nothing
no.
like that. They were
No.
considerably older.
And then there was Jim Surface, who lived in back of the Johnsons.
Now, Jim Surface, Ken Surface's
Right.
son,
Yeah.
Jim and Judy Surface,
Right.
and they lived in the house right behind there,
Right.
which is probably now where the garage would be or something like
Yeah.
that. It was a little rental house, I believe
Yeah.
it was. And how about north of you?
Oh, let's see, Phyllis Freeburn lived up there, and Jim and Grace Moss lived up there, and that's about as far as I know.
Okay. Now, you went from the Central, or from
Lincoln?
Lincoln School to Central.
Right,
And at that place, you found people from all over the city,
right.
except from the surrounding territories, which were serviced by Wadsworth Central High School.
Yeah.
Who were some of the new playmates that you had then at grade 7?
Sammy Napolitano,
Right, and he was from South End.
right?
They had a large family, had Mary
Right, all
and
Italian.
Sam, and father's name was Attilio.
Malcolm Crable,
Matt Crable, who was from Pardee Street,
and Don Westenberger,
was from Crestwood or Highland.
Jim Tubising,
Same,
Jim Sondels,
Jim Sondels, Highland.
Eldon Bixler.
Alan Bixler from Bixler Electric, Beef Bixler.
Yeah.
What did you call him Beef at that time?
No, I didn't. I just used to call them by their first name.
When did they start calling him Beef Bixler?
I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell
Because
you.
I've always known him as Beef.
Oh, yeah?
And a couple hundred pounds of just absolute goodness.
Yeah,
He's a good person.
He's a nice feller.
He surely is. And who were some of the other ones then that you...
Jeez.
Do you remember any outstanding teachers in either one or any of the schools?
Well, there was O.J. Work. He was the principal.
Yeah.
And there was one big, tall fella. He played professional football.
How tall?
Oh, man, he must have been 6'6".
You remember his name?
Oh, I can't think of his name. And then, of course, there was Mr. Patterson.
Yeah.
Everybody knew him. And
What did the professional football player play?
I don't know. All I know.
I mean, what did he teach? I'm sorry.
I don't know what it was. I just can't remember what
It wasn't
it was.
Dick Krause, was it?
What class?
Dick Krause, wasn't it?
Oh, football. He played
Coach football?
football and basketball.
Could that be Dick Krause?
No,
No.
that was later. And Mr. Close, I remember him.
Yeah.
He was a good teacher.
Mr. Close was, yes.
Oh, yeah. And Mrs. Magley. And there's another teacher come down from Sharon Center. I can't remember. She was a Hindu. Nice, smart. And there was Mrs.
A Miss Hindu?
No, she was an Indian woman.
She was an Indian?
Yeah.
I don't know who that would have been.
I can't remember her name.
Well, we'll find out tonight, because as soon as this is aired, someone will call me. And Sterling, don't you remember what that person's name was? So,
And Mr. Frost.
yes.
He was a machine shop teacher. And I loved that guy because I love machinery.
Yeah, and he's where you got your start.
Yeah.
And who were some of the other people who were in machine shop at that time?
Dwayne Kreider.
Dwayne Kreider, who became president of the bank.
No, jeez. Gavin Call him Duke Shoe. He's
Duke
gone.
Shoe, yeah, he's gone.
Gosh, I can't remember the other guys.
No. What happened to Bill Frost?
He got old and passed away, I guess.
He died right in the school.
He did.
Right in the school, 1947.
I'll be darned.
Maybe 48, I'm not sure. And that, you know, it was either fall of 47 or spring because it's warm weather.
Boy, he knew machinery.
Yes, he did. Well, he had been over in, he had been an actual practitioner in machinery. He was a very good person.
Yeah.
And who was the person who gave then the, as you remember, who taught the related subjects? Was that Ralph Rohr?
That was after my time. Oh, the teacher used to live on Baldwin. What was her name? On the left-hand side. Gosh, I can't remember her name.
Well, if it pops up, just you know, blurt it out.
Yeah.
Now, after school, or after high school, what was going on in the world?
Well, the World War II started, and I was about to go, so I enlisted in the Navy.
You enlisted in the Navy. When and what happened with your education at the time?
Mr. Work come in, and he says, you're not doing too well in your subject, and I was trying. But I says, put me in machine shop and woodworking and leave me alone. Because I've only got like 5 or 6 weeks to go, and he did. And I loved it, and I got good grades, and then I went to the service.
Where did you go? Great Lakes?
Went to Great Lakes, Illinois. The war ended in Europe while we were up there. We went to Port Hueneme, California, and trained with the Marines.
Say that Port what?
Port Hueneme, California.
Hueneme?
Hueneme.
Spell that for us.
Oh, Humme, something like that. I got it on my discharge. Anyhow, they were training us for the invasion of Japan, 500 of us.
500 people. Now that probably was a select group, was it not?
Yeah, we were in what they call logistics support, supply. He said, you are in the Marines. And we trained as Marines. They call us the Fleet Marines.
Now tell us a little bit about Sterling Bowes and his agility, stature, strength, and all of those kinds of things in those days.
Well, I did what I was told in the service.
Well, I'm talking about, you know, your physical strength. You still are in good shape.
Oh, yeah.
But you were in absolutely excellent shape when you were in high school. Very good shape. As a matter of fact, as I remember, you were one of the few people who would roll up the sleeves of your T-shirts, or not T-shirts, but you know, that was kind of a statement that, that you really were in good shape. So you were chosen then to go with this Marine group and Fleet Marines. And what were they going to do?
Well, we went through training, stiff Marine training, and because we were going to take all the supplies in for the first wave of Marines. And we'd get up 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, go out in the ocean, carry boxes which was supposed to be full of ammunition, they were full of sand, and hit the cold water, and that was our training.
Wake you up?
Oh, yeah. Crawl underneath the barbed wire, machine gun fire going, stevedore, welding, shoe repair. Oh, and
Do you have any idea why you were chosen?
no, not really.
And then what happened? Did you fulfill that obligation, or
They
did
dropped
something
the
else happen?
bomb on Hiroshima, and the next day they called us on the grinder. It was a big blacktop.
Tell us what a grinder is.
It's all blacktop, like a big parking lot. And they
And
said,
in the service, in the Army, they call it the parade ground.
yeah.
But you call it a grinder.
Anyhow, they said, the war's over, you're going to Guam. But if they would have carried this mission out, you'd have been in Tokyo Bay in 5 days.
Wow. Wow. And you know, we probably would not be talking to you today.
Yeah. They didn't expect any of us to come out because we'd all got our shots. And I thought, boy, saved our lives.
Yeah. Yeah, the end of the war saved a lot of lives, as a matter of fact.
Really?
That's right. So you went to Guam. What was Guam like at that time?
Well, they were still shooting.
Who was still shooting? That's very, very interesting and significant in Wadsworth history.
The Japanese.
Why?
Because they have a tradition they'll never give up.
Right.
They're up in the hills and shooting, and they were even supply, and they give us trucks to take ammunition up in the hills to the ammunition depot. And I was driving a truck up the hill, and I had a bullet go through the cab, and I said, that's enough of that. The road was only so wide, but I turned the semi around the middle of the road and come back. I said, you can court-martial me, do anything you want, but I'm not going back up.
What did they do?
Well, we'll take you off the job. So they took me up, put me in a warehouse, and supply and stuff like that, built racks and divvied out supplies for the Navy, so on and so forth like that.
The war was over, and I'm sure that the history books will tell about this, but
Yeah.
the soldiers who came back, and there were many from Wadsworth who were in Guam, could not believe that the war actually continued, and just continued and continued,
Yeah.
because they never gave up.
No.
So what happened then? Do you remember? You were there for how long?
I think they're still fighting World War II.
Well, they probably are somewhere.
They don't give up.
No.
They don't. They have a different attitude than we do, and I don't know. America has to watch their backside, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, you're probably right.
Yeah.
We are too trusting sometimes. Got out of the service. Well, you came back to the United States, is that right?
Right.
Mm-hmm. And I remember I followed one of the things that News Banner at that time was Banner Press, I believe, at the time. They would always have the news of the service people.
Yeah.
And obviously, the people who were closer to our age, my age, or whatever, were the ones with which I was most interested. But the people who were already in the service from 1941 on,
Yeah.
after the war began, they would still continue with the news about these people, and I would follow them. And I can remember when the wave of people in the class of 1945, because that was my brother's class,
Yeah.
they came back, the class of 1944 and 45, you know, people from those classes came back. And I can still remember I think there was a picture in the paper of you, was there not?
I don't remember seeing
Well,
it.
maybe there wasn't, but I thought that there was, because I can picture something there when you did come back. You came home to Wadsworth in what, 46, 47?
Yeah,
46.
46, yeah.
Yeah, 46, right. Mm-hmm. Then what did you do? I think that's a significant part of your life.
Went to work eventually. Spent a couple of months just relaxing, doing different things, and I met my wife.
And where did you meet your wife? I thought that was a significant thing that I was talking about.
Well, my cousin played football in Sharon Center. So I went up to Sharon Center.
That was a young cousin, right?
Yeah, younger.
No, I mean Young, the name Young.
No, he was Maynard Crispin.
But he was from your mother's side.
Father's side.
Father's side?
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyhow, I went up there, and I come back through the center of Sharon Center, and they were stopping traffic. Somebody stole a car, whatever they were doing. So I stopped, and I had my discharge papers. They let me through. I went around the corner, and my wife and my cousin were standing on a corner of Stoffers.
Yeah, but she wasn't your wife at the time.
No.
This girl that you saw standing by Stoffers.
Yeah.
And you thought that you would go out and help the police, is that it?
No. Anyhow, I stopped. My cousin was standing there. My wife was standing there, and I stopped, and my cousin didn't introduce us. So my wife, she says, I know who you are. I thought, I would like to know who you are.
Yeah.
Anyhow, I said, I would like to take you home, but I don't want to get in this traffic jam anymore. So anyhow, I went on home. And I told my mom I met this girl. And I called her up once and she had something to do, and I called her up again. She had church or something, and called her up the third time and we went out. That was in October?
Mm-hmm.
October. And I gave her a ring in March and we got married in July.
47.
47.
Mm-hmm. So you've been married for 52 years already.
Yeah.
Yeah. And where did you live right after you married, Sterling?
I lived at home. Lived with Mom for a while.
This is one of the things that people did.
Oh, yeah.
Right now, if you're 17 years old, going on 18, you find an apartment.
Oh, yeah.
But in those days, you stayed with Mom and Dad until you could. And, you know, apartments weren't very expensive, but still, we didn't have that kind of money. We weren't flush. None of us was flush here at that time. Stayed with Mom and Dad for a while, but then your first house was where?
Simcox Street.
Simcox Street. And what was Simcox Street like at the time? How far down did it go? Didn't go all the way through to West Street.
No, I don't think it did. They had a trailer park up in there.
Trailer park.
They had, it was kind of cinder and blacktop.
That's right. It was not macadamized in any way. Just kind of it wasn't dirt, but it wasn't too great. What I wanted to get you to talk about a little bit, because there are very few people remember that there was a trailer park up there.
Yeah.
Could you describe that trailer park, and who were some of the people who lived there, and what happened to the trailer park?
I don't know the people who lived up there, but there was a trailer park up there, a lot of trees. There's a little road that goes through there.
Goes north.
Yeah, it goes north. I
think it's still there right now, but I don't know that many people use it.
But yeah, they Simcox didn't go all the way through, so I know it was just dirt.
Who were the neighbors on Simcox when you went there?
Oh, we had the Bakers.
Which Baker would that be?
George Baker.
George Baker, okay. And what did George do in town?
He was a head machinist at the injector, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And we had the Williams on the left-hand side.
And which Williams was that?
That was Glenn Williams.
Glenn Williams, right. And he was a twin, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, his brother was, what's Glenn's brother's name?
I can't remember what it was.
Can't remember it, but he was a twin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then they had Alfie Skeens, lived right beside us.
Alfie Skeens, that name has not come up. I'd like to have you describe Alfie Skeens to us.
He worked at the match company a number of years, 20, 30 years. And his wife, Pauline, and he had 3 children. Kenny, I can't think of the other
They were younger than you, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And who else was in that neighborhood?
The Tars were on the other side of the creek, east of us, and we had several people live next door to us. I can't remember what their names were.
Well, that's all right.
Yeah.
You didn't stay there in Simcox forever, though, did you?
21 years.
21 years, but not forever.
No.
But you were a Wadsworth resident all that time.
Right.
So by now you're in your 50s, right? Or
Right.
40s,
Yeah.
late 40s. And where were you working all of this time?
General Tire and Rubber Company.
Doing what?
I was a tire builder.
Tire builder. Machine shop, and your love for machinery came into play where and how?
I used to like to have my machine exact. I would go in and I'd say, well, the machine needs this, it needs that. And the boss would say, well, the other guy didn't have any trouble. I said, well, I'm not going to run it till it's right. And the mechanic would come over and he says, he's right. This needs adjusted. And I think about machining a lot.
Yeah, I'm sure you do, and you're very good at it. Now, building tires, something that 50 years from now, people will probably not know anything about.
Yeah.
Could you describe how you build a tire?
Well, you have a big drum. It looks almost like a beer keg. You put one ply on one way, one ply on the other way.
Now tell us about what plies and what do you mean by one way and the other way?
Bias plies,
Then why do we call them bias plies?
because they're cut that way.
They're cut that way. They're on kind of an angle.
Right.
That's right.
Put 2 plies on, and then the beads. You know what the bead of a tire is?
Well, describe that to us, yes.
Yeah.
That's the part that holds the tire
Together.
on the part that goes on the wheel.
Right. And now you turn the plies down, and then the beads come in. And you take a tool and turn the excess rubber up over the top. And you put 2 more plies on. And what they put a chafer on. That's a piece of rubber like this on the side that protects the beads. Then you put the tread on. You have to splice that. Then you take a hot tool, put it like this while the stitchers come up and stick a tread to the tire. And you make a turn down. Break the drum down and take the tire off.
How many could you build in a day?
Probably 55 or 60.
55 or 60. Everett Perkins, now not Everett Perkins who is still living, but his father, Everett Perkins, worked at in the rubber shops as well. We used to call them the gum shops or the rubber shops or whatever. He remembers when they would make 6 tires a day.
Oh, yeah.
And only 6 tires a day. When you say 50 to 55 tires a day, that's complete.
Right.
Now, that was your tire.
Right.
And if your machine worked perfectly, you got a good tire, and if the guy's machine next door to you wasn't very good, the tire wasn't so good, right?
You had to work with it, call a mechanic, and maybe he didn't get as many tires out.
That's right.
But you got downtime for it.
And what, and how many hours did you get to do this?
Oh, I always worked 8 hours.
But what did the rubber shops usually
6
work?
hours.
6 hours, and why?
You could do as much as 6 hours as a regular. Somebody else done 8. But they did it for wartime purposes.
That's what I wanted to hear you say. For wartime purposes, they went to the 6-hour day.
Yeah.
They had 4 shifts.
Right.
6 to 12, 12 to 6, 6 to 12, and 12 to 6 all the time.
Yeah.
And many people worked the 6 hours, so it's 36 hours a week. Did they get less money?
Yeah, you get less money than 36 and you do it 48.
48, that's right.
Yeah.
Or 40 or 48, because at one time it was 48 hours a week. Now, on these tires, were they all Goodyear tires, or did you make them for somebody else too?
As far as I know, they were all General Tires.
Or General Tires, I'm sorry, I mean General Tires.
Yeah.
Who makes Sears tires, for instance?
I don't know. I can't answer that question.
Sears doesn't have a tire company.
No.
And so many of these factories...
They're all diversified. They go out and different companies make them.
But the process is identical, is it not?
No,
No?
I learned on a drum, do them by hand almost, turn up, turn down. And then they have semi-automatics, they have 88s, ASMs.
Now, what are 88s?
That's semi-automatic, done by air. Air turn ups, air turn down. Push a button, push a button, push a button.
Now they're done with automation.
Yeah, you're not a tire builder anymore, you're a machine operator.
Machine operator.
Operator.
And I suspect that there's no skill that you used to have.
Not really.
No skill at all. You worked there until you retired, right?
Yeah, I got hurt on a job.
You got hurt on the job, and we'd like to hear about that if it's not too personal.
I went to put a tread on we took a break, took our 10-minute break.
And this was probably in, what, 1970 something, wasn't it?
Yeah,
70.
Anyhow, I come back and I went to put the tread on the tire, went to step on the pedal, and an oiler had come by and put grease underneath the pedal, and I stepped in it and I slipped. And I hurt my back. And
Pretty badly.
yeah.
Tell us about what you had to do to get that back into place.
Well, it took a year or something like that to get around where I actually was off the job. But I took about 9 months of therapy, And they called me in, they sent me to a doctor, and he says, "You're done." And I didn't want to retire. I just didn't want to do it. And the company doctor says, "You're through. This is what the paper says. You know anything about it?" I says, "No." So he told me. He sent me upstairs to see what I was going to get on pension. And my wife and I looked it over, and that was it. I was done.
You were done.
25 and a half years.
So what did you do then? You didn't sit down in a rocking chair.
No, I didn't.
What did you do, Sterling?
Well, I did a lot of different things. My wife wanted to go to California, see her mother, and the remaining years. So we packed up, went out there, and she liked it. I didn't. We spent 12 years out there. And I used to do a lot of handyman work, so on and so forth. And then we come back. But like I say, my wife liked it. I didn't care for it at all.
So you came back to where this time?
We landed in North Ridgeville.
North Ridgeville. Why up there? From Wadsworth.
My son and his wife lived up there in the
Doesn't that make a lot of sense where your kids go? When the kids are small, they go where their parents are.
Yeah.
When the kids grow up, the parents go where the kids are.
Yeah.
Because of that tremendous attraction. Before we go one step further, we need to know who your kids are, when they were born, and their names and their children.
Patty was born in 47.
48.
48.
She was born in 48.
48. And then Sterling Jr. was born
January 15,
51. And then Tim was born in 52.
September
And then Becky was born in May of
56.
56.
56.
Yeah.
So they're all in their 40s and
Right.
50s.
Yeah.
Now, and grandchildren, just name them.
That's Sterling Jr.'s children. Roger, William, and Angela.
And where do they live?
Roger lives in Rittman, and Angela lives in Worcester.
No, I mean, where does Sterling Jr. live?
Oh, he lives in Indianapolis, Indiana.
Ah, okay. And what about your oldest daughter?
She lives in Akron.
In Akron?
Yeah.
Okay. And then Sterling Jr., and then?
Tim, his wife, live in Frankfort, Kentucky.
And how many children do they have? And
They don't have any.
And what about the last one?
Becky, she lives in Barberton.
And they're all married?
Yeah.
Did they marry Wadsworth people?
No.
No.
Let's see. Tim married, my youngest boy married a girl from Elyria, and Butch married a girl from Indiana. And Pat divorced. She married a boy from Akron, and Becky married a boy from Barberton.
Barberton.
Yeah.
So then, and you, after you went to North Ridgeville,
Yeah.
you stayed there for a little while, then what did you do?
We bought a house in Stowe.
Why Stowe?
Well, we called down here at Wadsworth, and I thought, a lot of rich people moved in. It's out of my pocket. So we found a house in Stowe and bought it, and I really like it.
And you've been there for how long now?
7 years.
7 years in Stowe.
Yeah.
Let's go back to the earlier days of your childhood here in town. And you lived right close to the city, or right
Yeah.
to the downtown area.
Yeah.
Probably went back and forth on a daily basis.
All right.
As a small child, age 7, 8, 9, 10, so forth, in that area, what kinds of places did you go to, and tell us what you did at those places?
Well, we played ball in my dad's station yard, and did a lot of hunting and fishing. And Dad and I used to do a lot of mechanical things together.
What about stores? Did you go to any stores when you were a little kid?
Brenneman's.
Brenneman's for what? Not for pharmaceuticals, but
No, for sodas, ice cream,
things like that.
milkshakes.
Did you go to Isley's then too?
Yeah, went to Isley's.
So, as a 7 to 10-year-old child, you would do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
10 to 15, what kind of stores would you go to?
Dad would send me down to the hardware store or something like that for
Now, where
parts.
were the hardware stores at that time? There were
That
three
was
of them.
Hoagland Hardware.
Hoagland Hardware, which was right down the street from the station,
Yeah,
about half a block.
yeah.
And whom do you remember in Hoagland's Hardware?
Mr. Hoagland.
Highland
Yeah.
Hoagland,
And then his son,
Dale,
Dale.
and then his brother Glenn,
Yeah,
and wife Ruth
yeah.
Hoagland.
I remember. Oh, yeah, I remember.
Tell us what that store looked like. I mean, describe the old-fashioned hardware store to us.
They have some of the things that are hanging in there then that you don't see now.
What are some of those things you're talking about?
Draw shaves, old-time axes, coal shovels.
Okay, draw shave, an instrument with two handles on it. There's a blade so that you can
Right.
pull it towards you and
It's like a big knife,
yeah. Coal scuttles.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that no one of today's age knows what a coal scuttle is or doesn't have one in the house. Describe one to us.
You got me there.
The one that had where you put the coal in, the coal bucket so that you could tip it into the stove.
You got me there.
Oh, okay. And what about the lawnmowers? Tell us about the lawnmowers that the hardware stores would have.
Push lawnmowers.
Push lawnmowers with steel tires
Yeah.
and a reel.
Right.
Right. Did you push one of those?
Oh, yeah.
Is that where you got your muscles?
I guess, I don't know.
They were bears to push.
Oh, yeah. The one I had, the handle would kind of flip up, and I had to take a run and start at it, but I did it.
You would know that you had mowed a lawn.
Oh, yeah.
That you had mown a lawn.
Right.
If you pushed one of those things. Now, could you describe Highland Hoagland a little bit?
Kind of a big man, stocky, real nice personality,
Loud voice,
kinda.
yeah, and a little bit of a nasality to it. And his brother was just about the same way. He was smaller than Highland,
Yeah.
and they all had a good hearty laugh.
Oh,
Had
yeah.
a good hearty laugh.
He knew the hardware business.
Oh, he knew it very, very well, yeah.
That's when he had screws in a drawer.
Yes. Wooden drawer.
Yeah. Big thing like this with nails in it
Nails
all the way
in it.
around. Nothing in a bag.
No, there was nothing in the plastic bag that you can't open anymore. You know? Everything was out of the barrel or
Right.
out of the bins
Yeah.
or something like that. And tell us about the floor of the hardware store.
Wood.
Wood. To this day, it bothers me to go into a hardware store that has either linoleum on the floor or tile,
Yeah.
and worse yet, carpeting.
Yeah.
Because a hardware store has to be,
It was
looks
wood.
like that. What other kinds of stores did you go to?
Well, Nicodemus down on
College
College.
Street and Party.
gas station. Went down there because Dad and him were kind of into hunting and mechanics and different stuff like that.
When you're talking about Nicodemus, you're talking about Oscar, right?
Park Nicodemus.
Park, okay, Park. Park's
Nicodemus.
Oscar's son.
Yeah.
Describe the Nicodemuses a little bit in terms of their stature.
Park was slender built, but had a grip like a vice.
Oh boy, did he. Strong
Man.
hands.
Oh, man.
His father did too,
Oh, yeah.
but his father was not slight built. Father's a big man.
Yeah, he was.
He was not fat, he was just big
Just big.
and loved to hunt and fish
Oh,
and things
yeah.
like that. What kind of gasoline did they sell?
Oh, I can't remember what kind of gas that they sold down there, but they did greased cars, repaired cars, sold a little hunting stuff, stuff like that.
And did you ever have any articulation with Don Merriman's gas station, which was on the other side of the street?
Not too much.
Not too much.
Not
More
too
than
much.
Park Nicodemus is
Yeah.
over there. Your first car. Tell us about that.
Can't remember the gentleman I bought it off of. A 32 Buick, 4-door.
And describe that car in its detail because it was a gorgeous thing.
4-door, had curtains at all the windows.
And draw shades, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Standard shift,
of course it was.
and I wanted to paint it. So I took the big thing was powder puff paint, so I took a powder puff and I painted the whole car blue.
I remember the blue car. With no offense, you ruined the beautiful car with that darn powder puff blue. Now, a 1932 Buick
Yeah,
was a real car.
Oh, yeah.
A very, very heavy car and a big car.
powerful.
And you were how old when you got it?
Oh, jeez.
You're still in high school, weren't
No.
you? Were you out of high school?
Yeah, we was married.
Oh, you were out. You were married at the time?
What?
You were not married at the time?
No.
Is that the-
But yeah, we were married.
No.
About 22, I think. 21 or 22.
21 or 22?
Yeah.
What did you do before that?
Like what?
4 cars.
Oh, I drove my mother's Packard. She had a Packard.
Beautiful Packard, too.
Yeah.
What year Packard was that?
46 or 47, one of the two.
One of the last ones made.
Yeah.
They stopped making them in 46 or 47,
Yeah.
somewhere in that area. Now, as you remember some of the things that you as kids used to do, which obviously and incidentally isn't a heck of a lot different from what
Yeah.
kids do now, except that they have less technology with which to do it. You had less technology with which to do it. What are some of the things that were, quote, fun that you did, as you remember? And then with whom did you do these kinds of things?
Bob Brown lived close.
And which Bob Brown was this?
He used to work at Brenneman's. He's a
Pharmacist.
pharmacist.
So he's a little bit older than you, however.
Yeah, a little older.
Bob was born in 21.
Carlisle Freeburn.
Lyle Freeborn was born when? A little bit later than that, but not
Yeah. And
about 40, 22 maybe.
anyhow, him and Walter Straighton. I think it's kid Andy.
Graham?
No,
Or not Andy Graham.
Andy Stewart.
Horace?
No,
Andy?
Andy somebody, little kid.
Steidel?
No, lived over there on Boyer Street. We'd all get together and we'd play ball in the backyard, or in Dad's backyard.
And you didn't do bad things, though, right?
No.
Tell us why, Sterling, you didn't do bad things.
Well, Dad, I never got paddled much, but when he spoke, I listened.
You bet.
When he spoke, I listened.
That was the name of the game when we were growing up.
Right.
If your father or mother said something, you had to listen.
Oh, yeah.
Now, a lot of events occurred in Wadsworth.
Yeah.
One of them occurred just as you were being born, and that was a big fire down at the Salt. But what exciting thing happened during your, and I'll give you a couple clues, the snowmobile coming through in 1939.
Oh,
things
yeah,
like
remember that.
Yeah. What do you remember about that day?
We were in Lincoln School, and Earl Joachim, the principal, says, William Byrd, I think that was his name,
All right.
the snowmobile is going to go up Broad Street. So the whole school went up Broad Street and watched the snowmobile go up Broad Street. Special built tires, special built machine for the Arctic.
We did the same thing. I was centralized at the time.
Yeah.
It was a cold day. I think it was November. I'm not sure. Maybe December, whatever. It was cold. It could have been early spring or late fall, one of the two. And that, it would almost have to be, or late fall because
Yeah.
it's 39. and I was in the 3rd grade. We all went outside and we watched this, and people waved, you know, and so forth. And right now, it's no bigger than some of the earth movers that they have, you know.
Oh, yeah.
But at that time, it was really something because
Oh, yeah.
the tires were taller than a man, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And but my heavens, they have earth movers that are bigger than that now,
Yeah.
much bigger than that. What else? That was the starter. What other kinds of things do you remember that happened during this period of your growing up that made an impression on you?
Well, I like sports. I used to go next door to the recreation center next to the church.
Right.
Played a lot of basketball.
That was the recreation center. Before that was the Masonic Temple.
Yeah.
Then it became the recreation center.
Yeah.
And then now it's the Senior Citizen Center.
Yeah.
Geographically, it's on the southwest corner of King and High, right?
High. Yeah.
Tell us what that was like.
They went in and the city went in and fixed it all up, and we had go in there and play basketball, and then you got grade school teams to go in there and play basketball, and it was a lot of fun. They had ping pong tables in there and pool tables in there.
It was so much more than we had ever had before in
yeah.
Wadsworth. Now, did you play athletics in high school?
Played a little football, a little basketball.
Okay, and with whom did you play, and who was the coach?
Art Wright.
Art Wright.
Oh yeah,
Tough old Art Wright.
a tough old Art Wright. He knew what he was doing.
Yeah. And now he's the type of person you could have talked back to, right?
Not really.
Not at all.
No.
He's worse than your dad. Worse than your dad. And who were some of the people with whom you played? Some of the students, other students?
Dick Rohr, Ted Rader, Jim Tubasing,
Jim Foreman? Jim Foreman?
yeah. Yeah, Jim Foreman. I forgot about him. Jim Foreman.
You played with some powerhouses.
Yeah.
What kind of a season did you have?
I didn't get to play too much high school ball. I was involved at home with
Running the
Dad
gas station.
hunting and this and that and the other. And I had a kind of a hard time with grades. I just did. And I liked mechanics and so on and so forth. I really tried hard, but we had dogs and we used to run them and this and that and the other. But I played a lot of basketball next door at the recreation hall.
Right. Do you remember High Street when it was a brick road?
Yeah.
Do you remember when they paved it?
No.
Do not remember that. So it's always a brick road as far as you can remember, right? Do you remember the, and this is going to be one of those questions that you'll think to yourself, gee, I had forgotten about those people. Do you remember any of the peddlers downtown? Popcorn.
Oh, yeah. Miss Moore?
That was Mr. Moore.
Yeah. His mother used to have the
Right,
popcorn
right.
wagon down there. Every Saturday night.
Yeah. And did you ever get that popcorn?
Oh, yeah.
Describe the way that they would give it to you and how much it cost.
Well, it was a big popcorn wagon, had big wheels on it. They used to pull it, and it was made the old-fashioned way over a fire, as I remember. And it was like a nickel or a dime.
I think a nickel. And a big bag.
Big bag.
Buttered popcorn.
Yeah.
Salt on it.
Oh, yeah.
My, it was really, really good. And people didn't have the nickel to pay for it. And what else do you remember about downtown Saturday night during the summertime?
There was a lot going on. Stores were open.
Stores were open until about 9 o'clock.
Yeah, movie theater was going. Seemed like there was a lot going on for kids that they could do.
And you were right there.
Yeah.
And you were right there. What about the amount of traffic that went by High Street in front of your house when you were growing up, did you think there was a great deal?
No,
No, it wasn't.
just average,
Just
not
average.
like it is today.
Today, it's just absolutely unbearable.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
just bam, bam, bam,
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
right after another. But they didn't have, for 2 or 3 reasons. First of all, Wadsworth was a sleepy little town.
Yeah.
Number 2, not too many cars around, and all that. Now, do you remember, and this is the part that I wanted to say a moment ago, that you may think to yourself, well, gee, I had forgotten all about that. Any of the town characters who were always around the square, since you live so close to the square?
Guy used to live down on the Ripon Road, they call him Cy.
Cy what?
Geez, I can't
And
think.
what does Cy do?
He ate a ton of ice cream.
And where did he get it?
I think he got it at Isley.
Isley's. And the man would eat ice cream. I don't know where he put it. He was not a fat man.
No.
As a matter of fact, he was kind of shriveled. But he would eat ice cream.
Oh, man.
And right on the street.
Yeah.
Just eat it and eat it and eat it. Do you remember anything else about him? When did he do it? It was not during the day, of course, because he worked. Or
No,
did
it was in the evening. He always had a butch haircut.
Yes.
Like.
Describe him physically.
A little bit on the tall side.
Yeah.
Hair receded a little bit. Butch haircut. Kind of farm boyish like.
Yeah, not the type of person you would think of as the regular family man.
No.
No. And ate ice cream.
Yeah.
And he ate ice cream to the point where you...
Well, where you got to put it?
Yeah, yeah. Of course, ice cream was, only 5 cents a triple cone at that
Oh,
time,
yeah.
or 10 at the very, very most, but he would eat the ice cream. We are almost running out of time here, but I want to ask 3 or 4 more questions about the downtown as you remember it. You went to Brenny's, and
Yeah.
they had the soda fountain.
Yeah.
You went to Isley's, and they had that sort of thing. Do you remember anything at all about the clerks at Isley's, for instance, and the clerks at Brenneman's?
They're always nice.
Who were they?
I can't remember who they were.
You don't remember who they were at that time? In the 40s, 30s, and 40s.
I remember Mr. Yellowneck was a pharmacist.
Yes, Merle Yellowneck is now gone.
Merle Yellowneck. And I remember the B&B store down there.
B&B store with the Ackermans and the
Lou
Cows.
Ackerman. And IGA.
And who was the IG at the time? Overholt and Freeborn?
Yeah.
And then Abrams and Mansfield followed that.
And,
Go ahead.
and Tuba Sings.
Tuba Sings.
And of course the old pool room was still there.
Did you ever go in there?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Went in and shot pool and had a good time and this and that and the other.
Who were the people who would go to the pool room with you?
I usually went in by myself.
By yourself?
Yeah.
Not necessarily a loner, but you didn't have to have a lot of company.
No.
No, you're pretty secure about that kind of thing. Now, one last question, and then we will have run out of time. Of all of the things that you think of in your golden years,
Yeah.
I guess if we have to call it that now, in our golden years, what are some of the happiest memories about living in Wadsworth when you were growing up?
Well, having my wife and the children, and the boys were in a derby, and
Your boys won a derby at one time, didn't they? The Wadsworth Derby?
oh yeah, they won several trophies.
Right, the Wadsworth Derby. My
I
brother
know.
Henry was involved with that.
I had the first girl in it from Medina County.
Right, and your daughter.
Yeah.
And she won?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's great. Sterling, you have been one of those people that helped make Wadsworth. You have been that type of person that Wadsworth is very proud to say he's one of our sons. We are continuing to say that we're proud to have so many Sterling Boses around, and you're one of them. We
Thank
want to
you.
thank you for being on the program and for sharing your memories of Wadsworth and bringing us some of the history that no one else except Sterling Bowes would know. So
Yeah.
thank you for being with us today.
Thank you.